Today's demo is about a useful and free utility called ZoomIt, which has been around for a while but has recently been updated to version 6.01 and now includes the ability to screen record. As the name suggests, ZoomIt allows you to zoom in on any part of your screen, but it's more than just a magnifying tool. If you do any kind of presenting, you can also annotate on the screen, display a countdown timer, and now in version 6, you can create screen recordings, which is great for creating short clips of anything happening on your desktop. If you like the demo, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Okay, let's jump into a demo. First of all, let's download and install ZoomIt. It's a Sysinternals tool provided by Microsoft and is available to download for free from the Microsoft website. Just do a web search for download Sysinternals ZoomIt and it should be the first search result in the list. Just make sure that it is from Microsoft.com. So we're on the ZoomIt website, we can click the link to download and we'll go to our download folder. And it comes down as a zip file, so we can double click to open up the zip file. And you don't need to install this application, we can just copy it to our C drive and run it directly from there. And there's 3 versions of the file and we just need the one that's relevant to our version of Windows. So we've got ZoomIt for 32-bit versions of Windows and ZoomIt 64 for 64-bit versions of Windows. And then we've got ZoomIt 64A, which is for ARM editions of Windows. So I'm just going to pick the one that's relevant to me and right click and copy. And then I'm going to go to my C drive, and just to keep things nice and neat and tidy, just going to create a folder called Sysinternals. And then inside there we'll create a folder called ZoomIt. And then we'll paste the download in there. Once we've got the file where we want it, we can just double click to run it. And then when it's running, you'll see this magnifying glass icon in the system tray. We can single click on that to open up some of the features, or we can click on the options and that will open up the application where we can configure some of the features. You'll normally interact with ZoomIt by using keyboard shortcuts. So once you have it set up how you want it, you probably won't need to go into the application itself very often. And if we go into each of these tabs, there is a brief description of what the feature is and what the current shortcut is to toggle that feature on or off. Now you can customize these shortcuts to your own preferences. I prefer just to use the default options, they seem to work best for me. And I would recommend ticking this checkbox to run ZoomIt whenever Windows starts. That means you're always ready to zoom in or annotate on the screen without having to first find and launch the app. Just have it always running in the background. Let's go through each of the features. First off, we've got the Zoom tab, and the shortcut for that is Control-1. Now we can set the initial zoom level by moving this slider up and down, but I think the default option of 2 is the best. I'm going to click OK and then press Control-1 to toggle the zoom. And this is what's called a static zoom, so we can move around the desktop but we can't click on anything to interact with it. But you can use the mouse wheel to adjust the zoom in or out. Or you can use the control and up and down arrows to adjust the zoom. We can also left click on the desktop and that puts you into drawing mode, but I'm going to come back to drawing mode in a second because there's a separate tab for that. And we can press Ctrl S to save the current screen to a screenshot, and that will ask for a file name that you want to call the file. Or we can do Ctrl C and that will copy the screen to the clipboard, which you can then paste into other applications. Next up we have the live zoom, and this is similar to the first zoom that we looked at, except in live zoom you can actually interact with the desktop and click on things. You can't use the mouse wheel to adjust the zoom level because the mouse wheel will just interact with the desktop instead, but you can still use the control and up and down arrows to adjust the zoom. And the default shortcut for live zoom is Control-4, so let's give that a try now. We'll press Control-4 to toggle on live zoom. And we can use the mouse to zoom around the desktop. But we can then actually click on things to interact with the desktop. We can still draw on the screen by doing Control-2. Again, I'm going to come back to that one because that'll be the next tab we look at. We can do Control-S to save the current screen to a screenshot and save that to a file. Or we can do Control-C and that will copy this current screen to the clipboard, which you can then paste into other applications. And then we can do Control-4 to toggle the live zoom off. Next up we have the Draw tab. Now, you don't need to be zoomed in to use the drawing tab. You can toggle the drawing on or off at any time by pressing Ctrl 2, although you can draw on the screen when you're in zoom mode as well. So let's click OK and just press Ctrl 2 to toggle the drawing. You then get a pen on the screen which you can then use to draw anywhere on the screen. You can hold the Control key down and use your mouse wheel to then make the pen bigger or smaller. You can then change the colour by doing R for red, B for blue, G for green, Y for yellow, O for orange and P for pink. And we can undo the last bit of drawing by pressing Ctrl Z, one at a time, undo the last bit of drawing, or to erase all of the drawings press the letter E. We can enter some text by pressing T to go into some text mode, and you can make the text smaller or bigger by holding Control and using the mouse wheel to scroll bigger or smaller. We can change colour, enter text mode again, Ctrl Z to undo the last ones. If you hold the Shift key down, you can draw a straight line. And if you hold the Control key down, you can do a rectangle. Just to highlight something on the screen. Again, you can change the size by using the Control key, make it bigger or smaller. If we hold the Tab key down, we can draw an ellipse or a circle. And if we hold Control and Shift, we can do an arrow. And if you want to draw on a whiteboard, you can press W for a whiteboard. It'll completely clear the desktop and give you a whiteboard. Or if you prefer a blackboard, you can press K for a blackboard. And then to get back to a regular desktop, you can press E. And just like the other tabs we've used, you can do Ctrl S to save the screen to a screenshot, or Ctrl C to copy the image to a clipboard. And when you're finished with drawing mode, you can just press the Escape or the right mouse click, and we're back to the desktop. Next, we have a tab called Type, and this one is just used for setting the font type for when you're entering text in drawing mode. We can click on Set Font and then choose from a list of fonts. So when we're in drawing mode, that is the default font that is used. It's also the same font that is used by the countdown timer, and we'll take a look at that next. So the next tab is called Break, and this is the countdown timer. You might want to use this if you're doing a long presentation and you want to have a break in the middle. You can go ahead and press Ctrl 3 and that will start a timer. This is where you set how many minutes you want the timer to run for. You can also change some additional options by going into Advanced. You can change the position on the screen where the timer is displayed. By default, it's going to display in the middle. You can have it so that it plays a sound after the timer is completed. You can also, instead of just showing it on a white background, you can have it showing on your own image. But when you're ready to start the timer, Ctrl 3 to toggle the timer on. You can change the colour of the timer by doing the usual letters for R for red, B for blue, green, yellow, orange or pink. And if you want to adjust the timer, you can hold the Control key down and you use the up arrow to increase it by an extra minute, or decrease it by using the down arrow and decrease it by a minute. If you want to change it by increments of 10 seconds, you can use Control and the left and right arrows, and that will just do increments of 10 seconds. And if you want to Alt Tab or minimize the screen back to the desktop, the timer will carry on running in the background, and when you're ready to return to the timer, you can just left click on the ZoomIt icon and that will take you back to the timer. And finally, the last tab, Record, which is a new feature in version 6. Pressing Ctrl 5 will start recording your desktop. You might want to use this to record a short clip that you then want to share with a friend or a colleague. Perhaps you want to show someone how to do a particular thing in a particular app. I'm going to click OK and then press Ctrl 5 to start recording. You'll notice that you get a yellow border around the desktop, and that's just to indicate that you are recording. You can then go into an app and do what you need to do. I'm just going to create a table and show someone how to create a table in Microsoft Word. You can then press Ctrl 5 to stop recording. It will then ask you for a file name to save the recorded video as. Click on Save. can then go to my download folder, and there's my recorded video. Just be aware that you do need to be on Windows 10 version 1903 or higher for recording to be available. You can also change the bitrate size to increase or decrease the quality of the saved recording, but the higher the bitrate you use, the bigger the file size will be. I find the default setting to be a good balance between quality and file size. So hopefully you found that useful. Leave a comment if you have any questions, comments or feedback, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the demo. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and that just leaves me to say thanks for watching and bye for now.